Hey everybody, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notify button so you know when you're getting new episodes. And we just want to grow this project. I thank you in advance. Without further ado, let's get it rolling. The Shout Out Show. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. This is me, your host, Preacher Moss, the host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. Let me give greetings and salutations for everybody who's come to the show today. If you're a new person, we ask that you come, you have a good time. Hopefully, we give you something of value, a good experience. And as well, we ask humbly that you hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. We'll kind of grow this podcast a little bit better than what we have right now. That's number one. Number two, I want to give a hearty shout out to all the people who come to the Shout Out Show. People don't realize this show started the first day of Ramadan and we just kept going. We have not taken a day off. We haven't taken a day off, a weekend off. And I tell you something, it is really in the mode of trying to find a level of performance, efficiency, and excellence. Let me say it again, performance, efficiency, and excellence. What I want to talk about today is something that we're not really talking about, but we're talking about. Today's episode, brothers and sisters, is about the importance of self-care. Now, people go, Preach, what do you mean by self-care? Well, before we had this whole COVID thing, before we had the whole thing, the economy going down the toilet, there was this issue about the physical, spiritual, and mental health and welfare of Americans here in the United States and basically around the world. So when I'm talking about the importance of self-care, it is an admission, and it's also an advocation for us to be able to look at the fact that we, brothers and sisters, need to be first and foremost the strongest practitioner of our healthcare. I say self-care, and self-care doesn't necessarily mean your physical health. I want to make that clear. It doesn't necessarily mean your physical health, but it's a collection of healths. Your mental health, your spiritual health, your emotional health, your financial health, your social health, your business health. All of these things are important. But the main word in self-care is care. Now, care. Care is one of the words that's overused, but then it's underused. It's overused and it's underused because care is at the same time a noun and a verb. Let me say it again. You know this. Care is a noun and a verb. Care is a condition of compassion, but it's also physical. You care for somebody. It's a verb. It's an action. I'm saying that in this time of COVID, what is really important is we don't lose sight of self-care. We're all dedicated to our families, our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, our sisters, our children, as we should be. But there's a space in there that requires that all of us remember, for lack of a better word, all of us remember something that's really, really important. We have to remember, what is it, brothers and sisters? Ourselves. When I say ourselves, I don't mean it in a selfish way. One of my good friends said that we all need to have positive selfish self-interest. Let me say that again. We need to have positive selfish self-interest. And what that really equates to is that we need to do checks on ourselves. One of the things that happens, particularly in African American community and Latino communities, is that we have been in the business of caring for others as a matter of historical imperative. You care for other people's children, you care for other people's businesses, that we never got to the space that self-care was something that we elevated our own personal and professional ideas upon. And I say this now because here I am at a particular day, particular age at 53, and I look around and people who I love literally work themselves into the ground for people they love. And now they're at a situation whereby they can't turn it around. The amount of care that they needed to have is gone. Let me give some shout outs to people. I'll give a shout out to Mr. Noise, Sister Sultana and this is my main man right here. Mustafa Davis, man, where's my niece, man? Tell my niece I'm mad at her. I need to talk to her because you're getting big and pretty, and I got to worry about these boys now. I'm gonna have to self-care some of these boys. You tell my little niece that's what happened. Let me get back to the show. So, love you, Ak. Thank you for checking in. And big sister Layla, thank you so much. And sister Layla knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say about the importance of self-care. So let me jump back on this a little bit. We've been tied into the fact that we have to care for folks. We do. We're a society, a country, a government that's built on the fact that you're going to have to care for somebody. The whole advent of nonprofits based, brothers and sisters, is based on the fact that there's some things that the government is not even willing or thinking about addressing. So when you have tragedies and things like that, the idea is while there's money to go there, they have built an entire country and industry based on the fact that you care more than they care. Now hold that thought, because when you begin to really, really think about it, we're talking about what is natural in many regards, what's natural, and then what's forced. It's natural to feel compassion, but in this scenario that we're in now, we're forced to feel compassion. We're forced to look at things that are difficult, and they're difficult for the wrong reasons. Let me say, difficult for the wrong reasons. You know, when I was growing up, there was a care understanding in the neighborhood. We cared for one another. But that care had layers to it, meaning that the family had the primary responsibility for care for people in their family, right? So let me even give you this scenario, if you will. We now have a scenario where we're being forced to care about other people's actions because they don't care about themselves. Now, I could be talking about masks and things like that. Let's just say just the idea that people have become very, very selfish in this time. People have become very, very selfish in this time. And that selfishness has created an imbalance, for lack of a better word. When I say an imbalance, it means that it involves me or it engages me to take away some of my personal time. Might be family time, might be just self time, but I am all of a sudden looking at how society does not care the way that it needs to happen. Let me give a shout out right here. Big Earth, what's going on, brother? Okay. I hope your sister's okay. I'm glad you're out of the hospital. Alhamdulillah, we'll make dua for your sisters. Earth, go to this right here. I'll tick it right there. Send me the sister's name so I can make dua for her, okay? I'm gonna bounce back here. Well, what's interesting now is we live in a particular time now where I was out today just walking around and I saw how society had changed. Let me say this again. I saw how society had changed. I went to the bank and I saw the bank guy staying outside of one of the ATMs is getting fixed. And he had on a mask. And someone going into the bank had a mask. And someone leaving the bank had a mask. And I'm like, this epidemic or this pandemic flowed from the fact that at the highest levels, at the very highest levels, nobody understands the value of self-care. Every once in a while, I find it important, for lack of a better word, brothers and sisters, I find it really, really important that I have to withdraw. I have to detach. One of my friends, in fact, Mustafa Davis knows exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes you have to detach. I want to say detach, but in my mind, I'm almost saying detox. And get back to some of the things that have to do with your essence. Get back to some of the things that have to do with your essence. The small things that make you happy. Like for me, my small things that make me happy might be an episode of Sanford and Son or Columbo and a bottle of Snap. And for that time, that hour and a half or that hour or that couple of hours, it gives me perspective on things that are important. And one of the biggest aspects of self-care is getting back to the idea of understanding things that are important to you. Because if you're very clear about things that are important to you, you'll be very clear about things that are important to other people. That's the empathy rule. And the empathy rule is something that's been violated, if you don't mind me saying. The empathy rule has been violated. We're forced nowadays to be empathetic towards people because cruelty now. So it's not enough that you do a good deed. You have to do 3 or 4 good deeds because you're making them up for other people who don't do their job. Now let me explain something to you, and I hope I get this right, because I can be wrong. If you love yourself, if you love your family, I want you to understand that self-care is not an opportunity for you. Self-care is a demand. Self-care is a necessity. Because if you're not at your optimum level, you can't help anybody. They always say if you can't help yourself, you can't help anybody. I do believe that. I'm a firm believer in that. But it's almost in prophetic tradition, in Hadith and Quran, and it talks about the importance of self-care. Now, anybody that's ever converted to the religion of Islam will, in a way, directly and indirectly, will refer to this aspect of reverting or, for lack of a word, converting. And the word we don't have is that it was self-care. That there was something in us, our DNA, our spirit, our heart, that was not correct. And it required correction. And this is part of the correction. You understand what I'm saying? That's from a spiritual side. But in America, we deal with stress. We deal with so many things. I mean, it's easy you can spend, I tell you how you can spend almost 2 hours just going through things on Instagram, which is just pictures and videos. They're not even about your life. They're not even about your own self-care. But that's how we spend our time. Now, I'm not bagging on anybody that does Instagram, but let's talk about it. I'm 53 years old. I remember when it wasn't Instagram. I remember when it wasn't a Facebook, and it definitely wasn't a Twitter. It required every day that somehow I had to focus on some portion of my life. My grandfather was he was a good man. He was a hard man. But I'm going to tell you why he's hard. He knew nothing but hard labor. He knew nothing about racism, Jim Crow, segregation, if you will. And in his own way, he developed this space that was his own self-care. And when I say developed his own space that was his self-care, what I mean is it was survival. You see, when we talk about self-care today, it is survival. But when my grandfather talked about it, he lived it. It was absolute survival. You're talking about how to walk, how to talk, not for style or purpose or to be seen, but largely to live your life and protect your life. My brothers and sisters, why is self-care important? I'm going to tell you why. In my own words, my own humble opinion. Self-care is important because you don't know how much time you have on this earth. Until COVID came, we were even admittedly myself, we were just flowing along, la 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 la, like in a big field of daffodils and tall weeds, la 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 la, and then came COVID. But it'd be a lie to tell you that, you know what, I didn't know there was a COVID or the potential for COVID or just the potential of death. And self-care means that in all of these realities that I just talked about, there's a space where at least, you can make the quality of your life a little bit better. Let me give you a shout out here. What's going on, Sister Chrissy? Hope you feel better. Sister Sakina, thank you for coming on. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. But I want to get back to my point that self-care is that little bit of thing that allows you to get just a break. I'm going to give you guys a story. I don't know if most people are still on here. When I shot my comedy special, alhamdulillah, my brother Mustafa Davis, he put up with me in probably the worst ways because I didn't necessarily know what I was doing. I was a performer, and he held the whole thing down. We had problems with lights, production, and he figured out how to make it happen. All praise due to Allah. Allah is God, keep it simple. The brother was a godsend. But when it came time to edit the project, I did something I haven't done in a long time. Without it being work related, I took a trip to Istanbul. Let me say it again. I took a trip to Istanbul. It almost sounds like, a bad travel show. Preach in Istanbul. And when I got to Istanbul, I was so relaxed because I didn't have the demands of people looking for me. I mean, if you look for me, you can call me, you can email me, but I wasn't accessible. And when we sat down to edit this project, which was a very special project, Love Supreme Anatomy of Gratitude, I swear to goodness, I would bet my life on it. I put this on my mama. That was probably one of the most relaxing situations I've ever been in. And I'm going to tell you why. Because every morning, and I know my brother was dealing with this, but every morning I would get up to run. Now, normally when I get up to run, I go to a track. But this particular time, I had the blessing of being able to get up and run and go down to this big body of water and run across the big body of water. And here's the killer part. Not just run, but to my left, I would look over, brothers and sisters, and I would see the Blue Mosque. You see what I'm saying? I would see the Blue Mosque. And for the whole time I was there, that was the highlight of my day. I mean, Mustafa has pictures of me, but these are the most relaxed pictures. I didn't have to worry about a joke, a punchline, audience reaction. They have mosques over in Istanbul. I mean, they're like 7-Eleven liquor stores here. They got mosques everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And I remember praying, and there was really no door there. It was a big leather thing. And normally I'm like, I need a door before I pray. You know what I'm saying? I got to hear something like that. And it didn't bother me because I'm like, this masjid has been here for a long time. I especially had the feeling that this mosque has been here way longer than I have. So I could not impose, if you will, my petty ways on this masjid. And then the funniest thing, as I was praying, a freaking cat came up next to me while I was praying. And I looked at the cat, and the cat was so serious. I almost told the cat, go ahead, man, you can lead, Zor. You see me laughing now? That's genuine. Because it only took that little bit of a memory that made me think about how relaxed I was. That's self-care. And I'm not telling people to get on a plane and go thousands of miles. But I'm saying, maybe shut off the phone, cut off the computer, disengage from Instagram. As old folks say, take a walk around. Maybe all of us just need to take a walk around and get the idea that we're here for a reason. We're here to enjoy life. But to enjoy life, you have to identify that it's supposed to be enjoyed. It's not supposed to be manipulated by other people. It's not supposed to be a situation where you're always accountable, but you're accountable to yourself first. Let me give some shout outs here. Sister Rabina, all the way from the UK, give you a big piece. Thank you for coming. Big Z, all the way from Toledo. Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. But this idea of self-care is so important. And I emphasize it because, one of my favorite aunts, my Aunt Ruth, who really, when you love an aunt, you love an aunt. And I love my Aunt Ruth. She was just a soldier. I still get sad that she passed away. She had a fatal heart attack. But when my grandmother got older and she started exhibiting signs of dementia and Alzheimer's, my Aunt Ruth, dedicated daughter she was, decided that she was going to quit her job and be the primary caretaker for my grandmother. Now, my aunt and my other aunt lived in the house, so it was three of them, but she left her job, retired to be the primary caretaker. And, it was very noble. But what happened was it was so much energy to deal with my grandmother. We all been here to deal with my grandmother and her health issues. And, I'm talking about brothers and sisters, Alzheimer's is no joke. You have to keep an eye on. I mean, I looked the other way when I was watching my grandmother. She was halfway down the street. I mean, these things happen. And it was so much pressure to take care of my grandmother, to bathe her, to feed her, to get her to her doctor's appointments. And my Aunt Ruth showed us all of that, showed it all of that. And I saw her health go down, but we just thought, she was tired. I saw her health go down. And the one thing she used to do, her self care, if you will, is that one day a week, maybe 2 days a week, she would take a break from my grandmother, maybe an hour, 15 minutes, and she would go down to this food pantry and give food. I mean, she loved to give food to everybody, and that was her thing. And this particular time, it was a day before Christmas, as a matter of fact, or day before Christmas Eve. It was in December for sure. I just got back from being overseas in the UK. It was my day to come see her. I was going to go check her out, watch my grandmother. She said, "Oh, boy, don't worry about it. I'll watch Mama. You just come tomorrow." And that day was a Friday. Basically, I would have come for Juma, then checked my grandmother out. Well, for lack of a better word, man, my aunt went down to this um, food pantry, and not even been there 2, 3 minutes, she fell dead of a fatal heart attack. When I say fatal, I mean you're dead before you hit the floor. And we missed the warning signs, if you will. We missed the warning signs. And I'll admit to it as a man, as a Muslim, that we dropped the ball because we didn't emphasize to her that she needed to take care of herself. She needed more than that hour, because that hour that she was thinking was an hour away from Mama was an hour working with other people. And we still lament that. And as a grown man, sometimes I get emotional. I visit her grave, and I apologize that maybe I missed the ball on that. And it's not to be funny or anything like that. I'm not sad, but I learned from that. And our family had to sit down and talk about the fact that, we have to take better care of ourselves. And my Aunt Ruth she was a queen. She was a queen. And I'm not questioning, Allah's will, any of that. When it's your time to go, it's your time to go. Like you hear a lot of people these days, what did he die of? Black folk, you always say, well, it was his time. I never get away from the fact that when you go, it's just your time. But before your time comes, you're entitled, you're engaged, and you're encouraged to live your life and appreciate your life. Self-care is about appreciating the life that you have. Let me give a shout out to Sister Rabina. She has some really kick off your shoes and socks and walk on the grass. Connected Earth's magnetic force, it is known as grounding. A great way of energizing. Yes, sister, I do agree with you wholehearted. And thank you, Layla. Thank you. Because my Aunt Ruth was everything to me. Everybody's got one of them aunt uncles that's everything to him. She was everything to me. And I'm here to tell you, I was messed up for a good year or so. But my point is, even in that situation, even in that loss, she still reminded me, without reminding me, that you gotta have self-care. There's no crime in having self-care. There's no crime in stepping away from things just for a little bit. Or even if it's your prerogative, step away for a long time. Hell, step away forever. But I want everybody to think about it during these times where anxiety is so high, stress is so high. Before you get to that place of anxiety and stress, before you go in that office, before you go in that house, before you go in that masjid or that church, step back. Before you go to Juma, find a space, a workable space to understand that you're going to have self-care before you hear the khutbah, before you deal with the politics of the masjid or the church or the office or your home. Step back. I'm asking you because I appreciate you. I don't have to know you, but I appreciate life. And I believe that in appreciating life, you can easily appreciate other people. Yesterday's thing was about what? ABCs of haters. You know what haters don't appreciate? Other people recognizing self-care. So look, I'm not gonna take up a whole lot of time. We cut this thing short. I had an announcement. I'm gonna break it out this week. I need to talk to my brother Doug before I do that. But it is going to be an exercise in self-care, helping other people recognize their self-care, if you will. And I hope, inshallah, that it's something that bears good fruit, because it has good intentions. But until that time, everybody, I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna ask a favor, not just on behalf of myself, but on behalf of my Aunt Ruth. And I'm gonna ask everybody, please take a little time for yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your shout out show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next shout out show. Simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from Tarifa Tar. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out tarifatar.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.